What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Geeky Gecko Creations live stream episode. This is our special podcast that we're doing on Fridays now to interview some of the most interesting, the coolest, the unique people in our reptile hobby. So tonight's guest, hopefully, is going to be Tiki's Geckos. I've been trying to message him since earlier today and didn't get through. Called him and left him a voicemail. So, sometimes things come up, sometimes things happen. I did message him a couple of days ago and everything was a go at that point. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on my phone and hopefully, Lord willing, everything will go through. So, regardless, I'm going to be here. We will be here to conduct a live stream. So, I will answer your guys' questions. First, let me give a shout out to our sponsor for this live stream, like I always do. And it is going to be, of course, hold on. I need to share my screen here. It's going to be Rainbow Mealworms, guys. You know that we love these guys. We use them for our accessories. I just ordered a bunch of these accessories. By the way, now I can tell you that the large size of feeder dishes is probably, I don't know if I'm going to like it for leopard geckos. It's a bit big. This is the large size. They're 75 cents each. And you can see this bearded dragon eating from the large size. It's definitely good for bearded dragons, but for leopard geckos, if you just go with the small, they're 50 cents each, super cost effective, and your leopard gecko can eat without tipping over the bowl for the most part. There'll be tons of calcium and vitamin in there so that the gecko can get as much calcium and vitamin as it needs. Another cool trick that I saw Ron Tremper do recently in one of his videos, he uses those rainbow mealworms bowls. So let me show those one more time, once again, real quick. These rainbow mealworms bowls, he uses these for calcium dishes and vionate dishes as well. So not just for mealworms, but he'll have a dish off to the side just for the calcium so that your geckos don't knock it over as easily. And of course, if you need mealworms, guys, I love these guys. If anything arrives dead, according to their standards, they will replace it, no problem. Their customer service is awesome. If you order mealworms in bulk, you definitely get a discount. And you can store the mealworms in your refrigerator, and they're good for 3 months. You don't have to feed them or do anything in there. I would suggest maybe gut loading the insects a day before you feed them to your reptiles. So take the insects out of the refrigerator, put them in just a tub in your reptile room, throw some like sweet potatoes, carrots, whatever greens you might have in there. They will eat that. Make yourself a little sifter from like mosquito mesh. I can show you mine sometime. And you can just sift out everything that, like, all the frass and the poop and everything like that. So let me take a look at who's here and start answering some questions. So we got, starting from the top, we got Bam Bam, we got Norman, we got Joshua in the chat. If you want me to mention your name, drop a comment in the chat and I'll definitely throw you a shout out. We got Jason Aker, Malachi, which kind of looks like macaroni when I look at the name right there. MST Joseph. That's an interesting name. Joseph, not Joseph. DNS, of course. DNS, big supporter of us. Talking about MSTs, talking about blue tongue skinks. When we take a look at Tiki's Geckos episode here, actually, let's take a look at it real quick. I won't show you everything, but they got a pretty cool episode on pink tongue skinks. If you don't know what pink tongue skinks are, they are pretty cool. Check these out.
We just imported 30 baby pink tongue skinks, and we're going to show you what we do and how we...
Look how cool those things look. Oh my gosh, those are cool looking. So if you don't know about Tiki's Geckos, they do import a lot.
The whole wide world. One of the reasons is they're very similar to blue tongues in care, very easy to care for, and honestly, I think they make a little bit better pets. When we import animals...
So feel free to check out that video, but pink tongue skinks, they're very similar to blue tongue skinks. I've never had a skink in captivity, so I can't really speak to it, but the videos that I've watched, they're very similar, but I do believe they're a bit smaller and they have a pink fleshy tongue instead of a blue fleshy tongue, but they are pretty cool. So we'll give a shout out to Tiki's again here. Here's his new channel. If you want to reach out to the person that we just saw on YouTube, this is their new channel. They have some really cool animals that they work with. Uromastics, bearded dragons. They actually do work with some general morphs of leopard geckos. Their specialty is mainly crested and gargoyle geckos. So you can see right here, this is their specialty. This is why I'm really excited to have them on. Also because they are super big into social media. So if you go into their YouTube channel right here, you could go to their video section and find videos on almost any type of reptile. I did a commentary video on their leopard gecko video here not too long ago. So that was pretty cool. I love their gargoyle geckos and crested geckos. Top quality for sure. So what's the best big lizard to have as a pet in a 40-gallon, Malachi asked. Ooh, best big lizard for a 40-gallon. I mean, a blue-tongue skink would be probably good because blue-tongue skinks get pretty big and they're typically pretty tame. You might want to consider a bearded dragon, a Uramastix, and you can hold a tegu in a 40-gallon up until it turns into an adult, like up until a juvenile. So I don't know if you want to build a custom cage after that, but that's an option for you. Or you can make just a super cool leopard gecko cage for a 40-gallon. So does anyone sell bearded dragons in the chat? Let me show you my bearded dragon guy out here in Arizona. He's super cool. He could ship nationwide. I've actually thinking about having him on the show. I was just trying to fill in our weeks for July. So July is filling up. We are starting to fill up people to join the live streams in July. And I'm looking to see if my friend John from, oh gosh, Extreme Dragons AZ. I almost forgot the name for a second there. Extreme Dragons AZ. So check him out. He's got some of the reddest bearded dragons, some of the coolest ones. Look at this cool dragon right here. I love like the dark red, almost like a mahogany maroon with the black and the tiger striping. I think they even call that tiger striping. It's pretty cool. So this would probably be the best big lizard to get for a 40-gallon, honestly, a bearded dragon. The thing with bearded dragons is they're mainly going to need a little bit heightened care that compared to others like leopard geckos and stuff like that. So if that's what you want to do, check this out. I might go into bearded dragons one day, but that's a whole nother beast to handle. Like Tiki's Geckos, our guest, hopefully, of the evening, he breeds a whole bunch of stuff, but he specializes in like crested geckos. So I would like to breed bearded dragons maybe one day. I don't know if I'll do it on mass level. Another person that we're trying to get into the live stream is Urban Gecko. So he said to message him back this month to try to set something up for next month. So we will see. Oh, not Urban Constrictors. Urban Gecko. The Urban Gecko. Because he does bearded dragons, he does crested geckos, he does leopard geckos. He just hatched out this really cool crested gecko right here, which is like, he's calling it like a reticulated pattern crested gecko. Pretty cool. There's his wife. They're up in Canada, but there's their crested gecko room. They also have a bearded dragon room and a monitor room and a leopard gecko room. So they got a bunch of cool stuff. I mean, look at these leopard geckos. Super cool. So definitely trying to get them on the show to see if we can. I mean, look at this. This is Black Knight Blood. Black Knight Blood Bell Eclipse. That is sick looking right there. So I would definitely like to take Black Knight into Bell one day and maybe work with some of these lines that he has here. Look at that. That's pretty cool. What is that? That's a Mandarin Blood Bell pinstripe. Super cool. Super, super cool. So looking forward to see if we can have him on the show as well. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. MST says, your boy Frank sell beautiful leopard geckos. I appreciate that. Yeah, I can give us a shout out real quick. So we've been trying to just show some of the projects that we're working on here. So this funky gecko popped out recently, and it has like this X pattern on its back. The bold pattern is like crisscrossing on its back. Super unique. I'll be posting more ball python stuff. If you guys been following like our Spectre Lemon Frost stuff, this is what I think might be a Spectre non-Lemon Frost. So again, this is not snow. Guys, this is not snow. Let me say that again. This is not a snow. This is fasciolatus, possibly specter. And of course, there's a little bit of Turkmenicus blood in there, and then a tiny, tiny fraction of macularis blood in there. We're talking like 1 to 3% macularis blood. But the reason that I think that this animal is so stonewashed and white and pale is I think that it might be carrying the same genetics that are in the Spectre Lemon Frost. That makes the Spectre Lemon Frost really pale as well, in comparison to a normal Lemon Frost. So here is a normal Lemon Frost, very bright yellow, right? But when you look at a Spectre Lemon Frost, let me find a Spectre Lemon Frost here. Actually, this is a great example here. Check this out. So this is a Spectre Lemon Frost up top. You see that? It's like white as a baby. That's a Spectre Lemon Frost. This is the normal Lemon Frost. And so this, here was another picture of it right here. I think this is a Spectre as well. I didn't label it up here, but it might be, or it might not be. Fasciolatus is a really light colored gene, but here's an example of what looks to be a Spectre Lemon Frost and a non-Spectre Lemon Frost. The yellow is the normal Lemon Frost. The white is the Spectre. And so the Spectre, I'm just nicknaming it Spectre for now. I mean, it'll officially stick if I discover that it's an actual gene. But what I'm theorizing that Spectre is doing is it's making the animal more ghost-like in appearance. So either it's a dominant gene that is reacting at one point in the gecko's DNA, or it's a polygenic trait which is reacting at multiple places in the gecko's DNA. Either way, it seems to be like a really, really cool thing going on. And this is something really cool going on too. We have this from our Manferno project. It looks very dark, Joker-like, like clown Joker-like. When I say Joker, I don't mean like Matt's Joker. I mean like it just looks eerie and dark in character, like the Joker is from Batman. So pretty cool. Yeah. So I'll stop showing that off right now. Let me check out some questions here. Let me see. Nothing back from Tiki yet. No call or nothing. We are on a 3-hour time difference. So I'm not sure if maybe he thought we were an hour off. Either way, when we get him, he asked to be here for an hour. So if he wants to stay for the full hour, whenever he comes, or if he comes, we'll do that. If not, then you'll have me for an hour or so. What's your opinions on Peter's banded gecko skinks? Any projects for the future? I don't know Peter's banded skinks. Let me see what that is. Peter's banded skinks. Ooh, those look cool. Those are probably sand skinks, right? So they're gonna, if I'm remembering correctly, these would bury underground and you'll never see them. Let me check it out on YouTube. I believe I looked into these a little bit. Peter's banded skinks, and I think they just stay under the ground. So you're not going to see them.
I get asked the most. What pans do you use at home? Well, today I'm ready to lift the curtain and.
I'm Frank Payne, biology teacher, reptile
His name is Frank.
former zookeeper. Of the soil, pretty damp, not bone dry. I think that's a mistake. I think they do want some.
All right, Peter's
some
banded
humidity
skinks
in their soil. Now towards the back, it is much drier. So I have a heat cord. 70 is the size rack, CB70 I think it's called. It's basic. Other species.
All right, I won't watch the whole video, but it looks like, unless I'm thinking of a different kind of skink, it looks like they might stay underground mostly. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, that's a really cool looking skink, and I definitely would encourage you to get something like that. So that's actually a good question. Most of the people that are here right now, are you in love with leopard geckos, crested geckos, all reptiles, skinks, bearded dragons? Drop a comment in the chat so that I could see where everyone's desires are. What is your favorite reptile? What species are you most passionate about? And we could talk about those species. Just so you know, my goal for this Friday night podcast, again, if you're new to our channel, we do live streams every Monday night, which is just with me. And now every Friday night, where we're going to have on guests. Tonight's guest is supposed to hopefully be here soon, waiting to hear back from them. but none other than Tiki's Geckos, which is an awesome, awesome guest to have. But we are also going to bring on tarantula people, maybe centipede people, if I could find centipede people, which I'm sure exist, maybe gator people if we can, right? So anything that's really not being done out there right now. There's a ton of snake podcasts. I would love to see other exotic animals in the hobby get highlighted, leopard geckos, crested geckos, and other exotic pets in our hobby. So tarantulas will fall into that. Gators, not everyone has gators. It's pretty cool, but like more accessible stuff as well. So again, like skink people. So if there's anyone you would like for me to try to reach out to see if we could get an interview, feel free to drop that in the chat. And I'm taking notes and looking these people up and seeing if I can get them on the stream. Lychees geckos is another cool one I just saw someone mention. So what's your favorite reptile? What species do you really like? Drop it in the chat so that we can look and see what everyone's liking out there. So thank you for doing these live streams. I've learned so much. Yeah, I kind of asked on Monday. Last Friday was our first Friday night live stream, and we didn't have like that big of a turnout. So I was wondering if it was the time, we did it an hour later, or if it was the day. And everyone that was there said, no, we want 2 live streams. Because I asked, I was like, do you guys only want 1 live stream a week? And everyone said, no, we want 2 live streams. So I can definitely commit to you guys and do 2 live streams. One of them will be dedicated to be with guests. The other live stream will be dedicated to be with just me on Monday nights. So you're absolutely welcome. I love this. It's a great promotion for the channel. It's a great interaction with the hobby. And it's a great way to feature and highlight some really cool breeders and species in our hobby. So are Lychees geckos easy to care for? They are easy to care for, but they're not as easy to breed, which is why they are very expensive. Tiki's Geckos is actually an expert on Lychees. So if he comes, we can definitely bring your questions for Lychees because they breed Lychees. They know about Lychees. Lychees are what are called compatible breeding geckos, meaning that if they are incompatible with a mate, they will fight to the death with that mate. So you can't just put any 2 geckos together. So what breeders will often do is they'll put a screen between one gecko and the other gecko, and they'll let them live that way for a few weeks to a few months. And if those geckos appear to not be aggressive towards each other, then they'll put them in the same tank, keep an eye on them. And if those geckos are compatible, they will mate for life. And that's why Lychee geckos are a little bit more expensive and difficult to breed. I wouldn't say they're more difficult to care for, just difficult to breed. Obviously, they are a big gecko, so the word lychee, I think, means like king gecko or giant gecko. And so you're going to need a bigger cage and everything is going to be bigger like in Texas. But for the most part, they're not more difficult, So Bam Bam got some gargoyles from us. He says they're doing great. Same with the leopard geckos. Yes, you know what I mean? We're starting to hatch some of our ball pythons this year. And we're big into the puzzle project, So if you don't know about the puzzle project, it's a very cool looking snake. The snake looks like it has puzzle pieces. It's very cryptic, very dark and like gothic looking. It's really cool. It also looks kind of Middle Eastern and Arabic a little bit because sometimes the pattern turns into like hieroglyphics. And so this is one of our hets. It is a recessive gene, which means it carries value across time. Recessive genes always carry more value than dominant genes. And this is a het that we were trying to figure out what it is. We think that there was a surprise gene in the pairing, and we think that that surprise gene is possibly Russo. I just hatched out the second one of this, so I can show you. I actually don't have it uploaded to Instagram yet. I'm going to upload it tomorrow. But I sent pictures to a friend of mine and said, hey, check this out. Look at what this is. And we were trying to come up with what it might be. But it looks like it might just be here's a puzzle right here. So this is pretty cool. This is a super pastel puzzle, which is possibly het for DG. So there's what the puzzle looks like. You see, it's very hieroglyphic looking, very puzzle piece looking, very busy pattern. And I love that. So I sent a message to my friend right here. And I can kind of show you we were trying to figure out what this second baby was, if it was a lesser het puzzle or if it was a lesser and another gene het puzzle. We think it's just a lesser het puzzle. So anyway, really cool stuff. They're starting, our ball pythons are starting to hatch out and take off now. We've invested heavily in the puzzle project, so that's going to be our #1 focus. Henry Hicks says, what's up? Hope you are doing good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Henry. MST, yeah, pretty easy, just like crested geckos for the care of Lychees, but they have some behavior issues. Yeah, and they are big geckos. So, like, if you take a bite from a Lychee, it might hurt a little bit, or it might like make you bleed a little bit. So you just want to make sure that you're on top of your game there. So, can you talk more about the possible Spectre morph that you showed off on Instagram? So, possible Spectre, I might be a little bit behind, but just to recap real quick, what we think is going on. The word Spectre means ghost or apparition, but I can't call this a ghost because there already is a ghost gene in leopard geckos. The ghost gene in leopard geckos is more rare in America. We don't see it very often. We don't ID it or identify it, but in Europe, they really keep track of the ghost gene and all of that kind of stuff. But this is completely separate than that. The Spectre, what I hypothesize is doing is, I hypothesize that the Spectre is making the animal more washed out and white and pale in appearance. And so that's all that's going on here. If I combine this with like Tangerine, what's that going to do? Because this is not snow. Again, this is not the snow gene. It is a mutation that is reducing brightness of coloration. So we will see what happens with that project. But up until this point, I've only been able to demonstrate or show the Spectre gene in Lemon Frost because that's where it initiated. It initiated from one of our 3 Lemon Frost that we first brought in, and one of those had this lighter ghost-like appearance, and he was passing that on to babies consistently. So I knew it wasn't like a one-off of him. And so what I need to try to isolate now is, do all of his non-Lemon Frost babies look Spectre? And if they do, then that would kind of lead me to the conclusion that it's not a dominant gene. That would more lead me to the conclusion that it's a polygenic genes, meaning that multiple genes are at work making the animals lighter in appearance, similar to height in human beings, right? If you have 2 tall parents, they're going to create a tall baby. But if you have a short parent and a tall parent, then the babies are going to be mixed a little bit. And so that's kind of the theory right now. I'll definitely explain more as I might find more out. So check this out real quick. I got to take a leak and I'll be right back. We can watch. Oh, we were watching the Bandit Skinks. We'll watch Tiki's latest video here. I'll let you watch this while I take a leak real quick.
One of my favorite thing about these guys is you could actually keep them in groups year round, unlike the blue-tongued skinks, you know, which we have to keep separate for the most part. These guys, I actually keep them in pairs or trios all year round, and they've been producing for us so far every year.
Oh my god.
We'll find them. Here, put this one in there. We always like to make sure these animals are looking good, you know, keeping out, watching their toes, their tails, just anything, you know, if we catch anything, a weaker animal, we want to make sure, you know, it's separated and treated for specifically. But that's why we got to do health checks on every single one of these animals.
I think I totally muted their video, right? There was no sound on that. I'll probably find out later in the chat. I didn't want to have my bathroom sounds going on, and so I muted it. And then I just thought to myself, I was like, they probably can't hear the video. I don't know. Maybe you could. So let's see here. Where are we with questions? Malachi says, me and my friend paired a female sun glow albino tremper to a male albino tremper tangerine. That's pretty cool. That's a great pairing, and you're going to get some pretty cool like tangerine hypo-ish animals out of that. So hatching leopard gecko babies is one of the funnest things. I still don't get tired of it. Opening up that incubator, and the more babies I see, the more exciting it is. That's the really cool thing about leopard geckos. They're so easy to breed, but they're also fast to breed. So within 6 to 8 months, your babies will be adults and they can breed for you, and then they'll be laying eggs every 2 weeks for you. Again, if you guys missed it last week, in shout out to this crested gecko live stream. If we're able to get Tiki's on here, we have the crested and gargoyle coffee diet. And if you missed my explanation, the reason I use these is because I need something with an airtight lid. Because whenever I get like actual coffee mugs, they always like leak when the coffee's moving around. So those ones don't leak. So here's the thing. Duop says, when will you have new baby leopard geckos on your website? If you missed our update over the last couple of days, we are in the process of remodeling our gecko rooms. And what I mean by that is we're going from more of an individual setup to group setups. So we have females that are not breeding, that have the same genetics. They will be in groups of 4. And then we have females that are breeding, that have the same genetics and are breeding to the same male. They will be in groups of 4 with a male. So I've been building racks and then also reorganizing about 300 adults, 300 leopard geckos, 250 to 300 leopard geckos, reorganizing all that to get them into their respective groups and making sure that I'm not making any mistakes with the genetics and all that. In addition to that, we will be keeping some babies in groups as well. So last week we talked about how Ron Tremper would keep 6 babies in one giant tub, and we'll probably be experimenting with something similar to that. I think our Lemon Frost project, we're pretty much going to be keeping isolated and in their own racks and everything because I want to keep track of some other stuff for now. But if any genetics really overlap or align, you could keep all those babies together as long as they're females, and then you don't have to worry about the males growing up to sexual maturity, trying to breed the females too young if you don't want that. So we are in the process of remodeling. After remodeling, I will be taking pictures and uploading them to the website of animals that we have for sale. And that's probably going to be about another 20 animals or so. So I hope you guys are interested. I'll definitely be making that announcement when the time comes and, shooting a post or a story that our website is up to date. And so you will be fully aware of all the geckos that hit our website. I think we're going to have some pretty cool ones and definitely looking forward to getting some more available for you guys. I also need to consider which ones I want to hold back because up to this point, I've just been selling everything, but I do want to hold some back to be breeders for next year so that we can, every year your genetics are going to improve. Every year, Tangerine will get better. Bold will get better. Combos will get better. And so you want to hold back a certain portion from every season to make sure that you are increasing your breeding stock and quality. Last week, I talked about like orange juice containers that I use for water, and this is one of them. So people make fun of me when I used to be at a desk job. They'd be like, why are you drinking out of an orange juice container? But again, less moving parts. No bacteria will build up around here. It's super easy to wash and rinse. And the same on that orange juice bottle as well. So Lena says, hello from Lunark Shop. Whoa, what is that? Is that the name of your business? Pretty cool. Hyro, nobody have been able to breed Peter's banded skinks in the U.S. yet. Oh, okay. Then I'm probably thinking of a different skink. Guys, what skink am I thinking of? The skink that buries under the sand. Oh, the name of it's on the tip of my tongue. I believe it's like something with an S, skink, and they bury under the sand. And they're really cool looking. Really cool looking. I don't know. Okay, so Malachi says they're into all reptiles. Henry says he's into all, but specifically leopard geckos. Eva, all reptiles, but intrigued with crested geckos. Well, you should watch our last episode, Eva, because we had Robbie's Reptiles on talking about the explosion of the crested gecko market. Hopefully, Tiki's geckos will be here, and he's awesome for crested geckos. He's invested in crested geckos now. I think his business been operating for over 10 years, and he's a pretty young guy, so he's been into it for a while. Lychees, JSC says lychee, gargoyle, and chahua. Chahua is another gecko on the rise, mainly because they just cost so much, so their value stays up because they're still pretty rare. Norman, leopard gecko. Chinese symbol, please let me know your name. I'd love to know your name. I can't see the interpretation of your name, so they say leopard gecko, which, by the way, Korea and China and Asia, they have some of the best quality leopard geckos in the world. And we were talking to Robbie last week from Robbie's Reptiles. He gets a lot of stuff imported from Korea. Geckopia gets a lot of stuff imported from Korea. We're going to do an episode with Geckopia coming up soon, by the way. And we want to import Korean geckos because they have some of the best geckos in the world. So some Black Knights from Korea, some Mandarin tangerines from Korea, some Panda Project maybe from Korea. We want to import all that. So shout out to our Asian brothers and sisters across the sea. They got the best quality. They got what's going on. I love leopard geckos and crested geckos, but my girlfriend is scared of cresties. Yeah, they kind of, one or the other has to build on you, right? So like crested geckos are freaky because they can't blink their eyes, so they look like they're possessed a little bit. You don't know what emotion is going through their head. Whereas with leopard geckos, they have more face muscles. They have the ability to close their eyes, so they're more cute and personable. They also hunt and eat bugs, so they're a little bit more like a dinosaur than a crested gecko is. But I will give it to crested geckos. They are easier to handle in the sense of they stick to your hand. So like if you're walking around, they're going to stick to your hand, but maybe not because they also jump, you know? So I thought of this idea that I want to make a little crested gecko leash, and it will be like Velcro to my shirt, and it will harness the crested gecko so that if the crested gecko tries to jump, it's just going to jump and then be repelled back onto my shirt. That would be good for shows. Like if you're vending a show, the crested gecko can just sit on your shoulder like a little dragon or something like that. I guess you can make a little Velcro jacket for a leopard gecko as well. If any of you guys are in the artsy realm and you think that you can make a little Velcro vest for a leopard gecko to sit on your shoulder, and if it jumps off, it just gets retracted back to your shirt, let me know, because that would be super cool. And I could definitely promote that business, because then we could just walk into stores with our leopard geckos, right? Home Depot, leopard gecko. Walmart, leopard gecko. Pet store, leopard gecko, because you're not going to be afraid of them jumping off of your shoulder and whatnot. So, Bam Bam says Bertopia geckos or Gargoyle Queen would be awesome to have on the podcast. I already put Gargoyle Queen on our list. I have to check out who Bertopia geckos is. I need to check out that person. I haven't heard of them. There's a lot of good breeders I haven't heard of. So when do you think you'll have some Black Knights? So we are right now breeding our Black Knights. They are in groups. So we have maybe like 3 or 4 groups of pure Black Knights, and then we have 2 or 3 groups of 50% snow Black Knights, and then we have 2 or 3 groups of Afghanicus, pure Afghanicus Black Knight crosses that are breeding. So hopefully all of that will be coming to fruition. Obviously, for this high-end project stuff, I like to keep them for a couple months and see which ones I'm going to want to keep. That's also good for you guys, because with Black Knights, some of them wind up being smaller as adults, and it depends. You might pay $2,000 and end up with a small gecko, and so our goal is not really to sell them that expensive anyway. But for me to sell them more affordable, I do need to make a lot of them, which means I need to hold back a lot of them. And I've been holding back a lot. Like last year, we produced a lot. I think we had like 20 pures and another 20 crosses last year. I held all those back going into breeding again this year. And so I don't really know the answer to that, but stay tuned over the next couple months, because if we do, we will have some of them available over the next couple months for sale, because those females are breeding now. So Dragonheart Exotics, hope you are doing well. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you are doing well back. My most valuable pair of leopard geckos is probably Black Knights. Probably Black Knights. And if I make a Black Knight Afghanicus, I would say this year, I'd say that's pretty valuable, because I haven't heard of anybody who's ever made a Black Knight Afghanicus. I've heard of breeders trying and striking out, because sometimes Afghanicus appears to be, of the geckos that can breed with Macularis, Afghanicus appears to be the most genetically diverse. What do I mean by that? I mean, like an Afghanicus bred to a Macularis is almost like making a liger, right? It's almost like breeding a lion and a tiger together and making a liger. That might be a bad example, because as of now, Afghanicus is classified as a subspecies of Macularis. But there's a lot of people that think that Afghanicus should be another species of leopard gecko, which would make that scenario more accurate. The lion, which would be the Macularis, breeding with the tiger, which would be the Afghanicus. They're two different species. But if Afghanicus is a true subspecies of lion, so to speak, then it would be like an African lion breeding with an Asian lion, right? They're two different lions. They have different sets of DNA, but their DNA is still similar enough to be called a lion. Well, there's a lot of breeders that have tried to breed Black Knight into Afghanicus, and they're unsuccessful. Here's what I noticed this year about Afghanicus. Lemon Frost does not like to transport into Afghanicus. All the babies die in the egg, or they die shortly after hatching. You guys, let me show you. We actually have a the first in the world ever, I believe, that has ever hatched out. We have an Afghanicus Lemon Frost. It's clearly a Lemon Frost, and it is definitely Afghanicus because it came from an Afghanicus Lemon Frost pairing. And it died a couple days after hatching out. Did I miss it? Did I miss it? And the same thing appears to be happening with white and yellow. White and yellow does not appear to want to thrive in Afghanicus. Now, what is the main difference between white and yellow, Lemon Frost, and like Black Knight? The main difference is Black Knight is polygenic, and Lemon Frost and white and yellow are Mendelian. Here it is right here. Check this out.
Here in the bottom corner is the world's first that I've ever heard of Afghanicus Lemon Frost. Now you
Right
can
there.
see the gecko
Afghanicus
on the right
Lemon
now
Frost. It's a little skinny.
is a Lemon Frost compared to this gecko.
That baby did not make it. That baby passed away a few days later. So Lemon Frost appears to be weak in Afghanicus. It's very difficult to get a viable, strong living offspring. White and yellow appears to be weak. I've had a couple babies that were white and yellow hatch out, die a couple days later, but I still need to show pictures of this. The baby has like eyelid issues, so I didn't want to show a picture of it, and I had to double check the genetics. It was because we had incubator issues earlier in our season, so some of our hot babies, the babies that were incubated at 90 degrees, they have some eyelid issues, but that's no big deal. I have to double check the genetics, but so far, I think that we do have a surviving white and yellow Afghanicus, and I just have to double check the genetics on that. But we do have a surviving
Guys, look
Snow.
at this beautiful baby.
Snow does not appear to have a very big problem translating into Afghanicus, and you can see it makes some of the most unique looking Afghanicuses that you can have. So here's another, we're probably calling this the Jester or the Harlequin, because of that unique pattern, and that is Afghanicus Snow. I think, again, here are 2 more Afghanicus snows. And so Afghanicus into snow. Snow does not seem to be a problem for Afghanicus, but white and yellow. Is this an Afghanicus? Yeah, this was an Afghanicus snow. White and yellow and lemon frost appear to have problems with creating viable, strong offspring in Afghanicus, white and yellow and lemon frost. So certain dominant genes appear to be creating an issue. And as of right now, it seems to be the dominant genes that make the animals brighter. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. But in theory, if you can get a healthy baby, then that baby can pass on its genetics. You know what I mean? So I actually don't know the answer to this, but I wonder if a liger can only breed with a liger, or if a liger can breed with a tiger and breed with a lion. That'd be interesting. So as when you're talking about ball pythons, Bam Bam asks any other cool ball python projects. When you're talking about ball pythons, you want to pick a couple recessives and focus around that. You want to pick albino, you want to pick hypo, you want to pick desert ghost, you want to pick clown, you want to pick puzzle, you want to pick there's a whole bunch of other recessive genes, and then there's dominant genes. You always want to make your cornerstone some kind of recessive combination. So our cornerstone right now, recessive combination, is puzzle first and then hypo. We're going to be combining puzzle and hypo together. And then we have a little bit of clown that's going to be floating around in our projects as of right now. So puzzle, hypo, clown, and desert ghost a little bit. But it's mainly puzzle we're going to have the most of, and then hypo, and then combining puzzle and hypo, and then, of course, combining those with desert ghost and clown. So you want to pick a recessive that you want to focus on, and then you could incorporate dominant genes into that. Some of the most popular dominant genes that we've chosen to work with as well are black pastel, lesser, leopard, fire, enchi, spot nose. All of these genes are secondary to the recessive. You want to focus on recessive and then getting all of this stuff into recessive. And so we have all of that going on. Blackhead, that's a dominant gene as well. What else? Dominant gene that's really popular. Red stripe, if I didn't say that. Red gene, ringer gene we have. Pastel is always a classic. Pastel doesn't go so good with clown, but pastel goes really good with puzzle and desert ghost. So pastel's kind of making a comeback with that. Orange dream, we have orange dream, which makes the I almost call them geckos, the snakes more orange. So those are all genes, but again, those genes are secondary to the recessive genes. So when talking about ball pythons, think recessive is king. Everything else under that comes second. So would you be willing to sell a TSM Manferno baby? I would be willing. I've had some people hit me up that have really, really wanted Manfernos. And in case you don't know what a Manferno is, Manferno is our selectively bred Infernos crossed to a selectively bred Mandarin. The Mandarin also has Tango Crush in it, which makes him very bright, our Mandarin project, but I just call it Mandarin because that's mainly what it is. Tango Crush has Mandarin in it. And then so when you combine those babies with Mandarin, it's basically Mandarin. So anyway, we have Mandarin dominant genes combined with Inferno dominant genes, and this is what the babies look like. Really cool. We have another Manferno here. Really cool. All of that purple will turn green over time. Another Manferno baby here. This was back before I had my better lighting set up. Here's a Manferno. And check this out. This is not an albino. Isn't that crazy? This looks albino, right? But this is not. If you look at the feet, look at that. There's black pigment on the feet. This is not an albino. I'm really interested to see what this baby turns out to be. Here is a Manferno Tremper. Here's a Manferno Tremper. Here's a Manferno non-Tremper. You can see all of that purple that started to turn to green with some dots. That's going to be pretty cool. So anyway, we might sell some of our Manfernos. If we do, what I'm waiting on right now is I'm waiting to allow for those babies to grow up so that I could know which ones are male for sure, and I could hold back as many males as I need for next year, and then I can decide if I want to let some of those go. Now, if I don't let go of any Manfernos this year, that's really good news for you next year, because that means we're going to have a ton of Manfernos next season. So I need a male lesser to pair with my female so you can make a blue-eyed Lucy. Yeah, exactly. If you guys don't know what a blue-eyed Lucy is, certain genes in ball pythons combine together to create an all-white snake that has blue eyes. And so this is what they call a blue-eyed Lucy. Pretty cool. We actually just got our first blue-eyed Lucy. I don't have pictures of it yet. That is 100% het for puzzle. So the thing about blue-eyed Lucy, the pros and cons. The pro, it's an all-white snake. Who doesn't like an all-white snake? The con, you don't know what other genes are in that snake because it's an all-white snake. It could be a blue-eyed Lucy, black pastel, red stripe, yellow belly. Oh, yellow belly is another popular gene, by the way. Fire, spot nose. You have no idea what's in that snake. You just have to breed it and find out. And that's one thing I really appreciate about the ball python world is they're not as nitpicky as the leopard gecko world as far as finding new genes in your geckos. In your snakes. So in the ball python world, it's super cool and super fun to find new genes. And in the gecko world, I think it's super cool and fun to find hidden and new genes in your gecko that you didn't know were there. But a lot of the industry leaders kind of don't promote that, and they kind of frown upon that. So it makes people think, oh no, it's a bad thing. There's hidden genes in my gecko's DNA. But in reality, aren't hidden things fun, right? That's why we wrap Christmas gifts. It's fun to open it. That's why we hide prizes and spin prize wheels. It's fun to not know something and then have an anticipation build up towards what could potentially be. We do not breed Chinese cave geckos right now or have them, but I would love to have them in the future. They're pretty cool. So we probably won't have any crested gecko babies for sale because here's why. I'm holding back all of our crested gecko babies right now to increase our Dalmatian project. So for crested geckos, I've just been focused on breeding Dalmatians and getting them as white and as spotted as I can. And for gargoyles, I'm focused on breeding for red stripe, red pattern, red blotch, orange blotch. All of that stuff is my focus for gargoyle geckos. And I am selling gargoyle geckos because I have way more breeders. But for crested geckos, I don't have as many breeders. So I'm keeping back all those babies to raise them up, because when you inbreed like that, it heightens the Dalmatian spots and the genetics and all that. So that's my goal with that. Yeah, so you want to see a black knight? Here's one of our blackest black knights.
It came down from the sky just like a message, a power I could never dream of, pause for second guessing. I had the voice inside my head that told me I was destined, and my mama always said that I'm a joy and a blessing. By 11, I turned this passion into...
I better cut that music before it tries to take this video down or copyright this video. I think what happened last time, they like I wouldn't mind if the video was not monetized. I don't need to make money off of every video, which if you guys don't know, you're not making a lot of money off videos. So like we have almost 5,000 subscribers, and I can tell you that we get a lot of watch time. Let me show you the amount of watch time we get. So I'll show you my stats. Let me show you my stats. Just so you can have an idea to build an expectation for yourself, you know? I think YouTube channels are great, and it is a great secondary source of income for sure. See, on our shorts, I don't even turn monetization, like money on for the shorts, because shorts are different the way they monetize you from what I hear. So it's just not worth it to watch the commercial. So in the last 28 days, so this is about 1 month, we've had 35,000 views on our videos, and we've had 2,000 hours that people watched our videos. And then from that, we made $95. So does that make sense? If you have a channel of about 5,000 subscribers like we do, you're going to be making about $100 a month, about anywhere between $75 to $100 a month, depending on if it's a good month for you, watch time wise or not. We've been doing really good this month. Our subscribers are going back up. They were down low a few days ago, but they just been jumping up over this last 2 weeks. And so as watch time and all that kind of stuff as well. So because of that, we're at $95 when normally we're at usually about $80 to $85 per month. So if you think about the amount of time and effort that you put into videos and time and all that, live streams and podcasts and editing and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot of time for just $100. But the main benefit of YouTube is promotion. It's the best marketing promoting tool that you could ever ask for. Might be in AZ in October. Would be awesome to meet you. Yeah, if you guys are ever rolling through, let me know. Somebody was rolling through this weekend, but I was not able to have them over to see our operation because we are in the middle. We're very busy right now in the middle of remodeling and reorganizing everything. And of course, getting babies up for sale. So because of all that, I don't have the time to accommodate them. But if you are rolling through Arizona, specifically Gilbert, let me know because we might be able to have you guys over and tour and whatnot. What is going on? 100. That's all that I can see from that name. But hello and welcome. Ligers are sterile. So there it is. So a liger is going to be sterile. I don't think that's going to be the same with Afghanicus. For example, the Afghanicus macularis crosses, I have no reason to think right now that those babies are going to be sterile. But yeah, a mule is sterile as well. I will need to test that out. Now, here's what is sterile. They did a test breeding macularis to Angraminu. If you guys don't know what an Angraminu is, let me show you real quick what an Angraminu is. Leopard gecko. Angraminu leopard gecko. It's a completely different species of leopard gecko that is really big. So here's a chart of the species of leopard gecko. Up here, you got the biggest, which is Angraminu. Here, you got macularis. And then they bred these two together. They bred Angraminu to macularis, and they created hybrids. Those hybrids did not create fertile offspring with each other very often or at all. There was a research paper. Where is it? I think this might be the research paper. No, this isn't the research paper. But there was a research paper that I saw and kind of looked at, and they covered the pairing that happened with Angraminu and macularis. And it showed that basically, yeah, it was not a good pairing. The DNA of these animals is far enough to where you're not going to get a lot of fertile babies. And then the babies that you do get that actually grow up, they will be sterile for the most part. They won't be able to produce. So Gecko Punk, yeah. So I just got your channel. I hope it's going good. When you started off, how did you get yourself to where you are now? So I think I got my first leopard gecko at the age of 8. And from there, I started begging my parents to get deeper into reptiles. So I started collecting bearded dragons, snakes. At the age of like 10, I think I had like a 4-foot Argus monitor. It was crazy. Who did I tell? I was going to tell a funny story to. I don't know how this happened, but my dad helped me build an 8-foot cage in our basement, or it might have been a 6-foot cage in our basement for this Argus monitor that was an adult that we bought from the pet store for like $200. It was at the pet store. Someone surrendered it, and I thought it was so cool, and I wanted it. It was an adult Argus monitor. So we built this giant cage in my basement, in this like back room of my basement, and my mom didn't know it was there. And one day we're all gone from the house, and she's in the basement like dancing to some music, like practicing dance. And all she hears is the thud noise coming from behind these closed doors in our basement. So she's all scared. She doesn't know what it is. And she goes to peek in the back to see what it is. And all she sees is the Argus monitor tripoding. If you don't know about Argus monitors, super cool. Let me see if I can show you. Argus monitor tripod. They're the only monitor that tripods, or like from this family that tripods. And they stand up on their 2 hind legs and they stare you down. I think it's a way for them to like look for food and all that kind of stuff. But look at that. They stand up on their hind legs. It's super cool. But all my mom sees is this tripoding Argus monitor, 4 foot, huge. They're big. Like, look, this is a big animal now. This is a big animal. Standing up, looking at her. Look how big that is. That's an adult. Mine was probably a little smaller than that, but it was pretty big. Looking at her, and she was like, she freaked out. So anyway, I think we got rid of the animal shortly after that, but that's where I really had a passion for reptiles in my teenage years. Then, I'm not going to lie, I, like a lot of teenagers do, I fell into bad habits. Now, take that for what it's worth. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but teenagers, experimentation, bad habits. I began to give up everything that was important to me. I gave up sports. I gave up a care for my family. I gave up even a care for reptiles. Yet some of the people in my life at that time, I reached out to them now and I was like, hey, I have reptiles as a business. And they responded back to me, yeah, I always remembered you were into reptiles. So even in my bad high school days, I was still, I had like a Nile monitor in my bad high school days. So like I had stuff going on, but eventually, because of all of that, my parents just wanted to separate us from all of that bad influence, and we moved to Arizona. And there's a lot of stuff that happened in Arizona that I don't know how I want to talk about it yet, out of respect for not necessarily myself. I don't care about myself, but out of respect for everybody involved, I need to think about how to talk about it. But there's a lot of stuff that happened in Arizona, and I was out of reptiles and just out of the picture for a long time. And but I never lost my love for reptiles. I remember that even though I was out of the picture for a long time, I was still researching and looking up reptiles in any way that I could. And so it wasn't until I was probably about 28 to 29 when I got back into reptiles, when my life was just in a place where I could get back into reptiles again. And I was clear-minded. I was, all of that kind of stuff. And I was in a good place to where I was making my own money now. And at that time, I was still living with my parents. So I started collecting reptiles. And I was going to college at the age of like 28. I was finishing my bachelor's degree. And my dad told me, he's like, if you ever want to get a girlfriend, you're going to have to get rid of all these reptiles. Because I was collecting reptiles again in their house while I was going to school, while I was working. I was paying for all this with my own money by this point. And so I said, okay, I'm in school. I'm traveling 2 hours a day for school, driving up to school and back. And I'm involved in band in school and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, I'll get rid of all my animals. I got rid of all of my animals super cheap, just on Craigslist, found people who I just wanted to bless with them or whatever, and good to go. Then I found my girlfriend, which would now be my wife, and we were dating for a year. And after a year, I started to get back into reptiles. And so she was well aware of my love for reptiles before she married me, because when I got back into reptiles at the age of maybe 29 or 30, I had made the decision that at that point, I had done enough research and I realized, you know what? I'm going to take this passion and I'm going to run 100% with it. I want to create a business out of it one day. I want to create a presence on social media, and I want to be a breeder. But I did not ever think that I would be doing it full time. So I was just a collector for collecting and building my operation slowly for probably about 2 to 3 years. And then I lost my job. I was working at a 9 to 5 desk job for Allstate Insurance. I lost my job through COVID and that whole scenario. And at that point, a distant family member of mine that I hadn't seen in a while came into the picture. This is just miracle, blessing of God type stuff. Came into the picture right at the time that I lost my job and started to invest in us as a business. And so I talked to my wife and I said, with his high dollar investments, I think I could do this full time. I think I could make enough money to support the expenses of the business and eventually turn it into a full-time thing, even though I wasn't planning on going full-time this soon. I wasn't going to go full-time until I retired, and I wanted to have a 401k and all that before I went full-time with reptiles. But things changed, and now I'm able to do it full-time. And we have a large collection that is self-sustaining in a way to where it's paying for its own expenses. And one day it will pay for my salary. And one day it will pay for, just like a normal business does, it will be able to, we'll be able to pull profits out of the business. But for now, the business is mainly just covering the expenses of the business. And one reason for that is because I've been holding everything back so that I could grow this and scale this to a sizable operation so that it could not only support the expenses, but it could support a paycheck for me. Because right now I'm not paying myself. I don't make any money for the last 2 years. I haven't made any money. I haven't paid myself anything. I'm just, whatever money the business makes pays off rent, pays off expenses of the business, pays off investments of future animals that we're investing in. You know what I mean? And I got myself into a pickle a couple of months ago because I invested too much and I was in a lot of debt. And so I had to scramble to find some loans and ask my investor if he could cover some of this debt. And thankfully he did. Very thankful for that. So anyway, that's where we're at now. And I'm pretty hopeful for where we are now. The amount of animals that we have, the amount of money that we're generating every month is able to pretty much cover the expenses. I think we're in a good place to be profitable. Profitable means that you're paying yourself an appropriate salary. You're covering the appropriate expenses. I'm pretty sure we can be profitable within 3 to 4 years. And for sure, we'll be covering our expenses and maybe a little salary of mine over the next year or two. I really got to pee again because I was drinking a lot of water. So let me show you. Let's go back and watch some more of Tiki's. And this time I'm not going to put it on mute. And I'm going to see what happens here. Man, I'm really hoping Tiki's messaging me back. Maybe he thinks that we were meeting an hour in advance. So I don't know. That would be about this time. So we will see here. Let me see. Tiki's. Dang, look at this. You could check some of this out because this is some pretty crazy stuff.
For no reason at all, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise.
Even though they haven't studied it as extensively as humans have, creatures of the wild largely respect the food chain. When predators do their preying, prey do their running. It is a natural happening that rarely ever gets disturbed. However, The key word here is rarely, because sometimes that order gets disrupted. And that disruption is what this video is about. So let's look at 10 times predators became prey while hunting. Number 10, Cape buffalo versus lion. Buffaloes are one of the largest cattle species in the world. They can weigh up to 1,000 kilograms. But for some reason, lions still like to prey on them. The trick is for them to hunt in packs and then chase a pack of buffaloes till they can find the weak link. However, this time around, one lion decided to do a solo hunt. Bad idea. So this lion...
Okay, I hope you guys were able to hear it that time, but isn't that pretty crazy? I've been watching and documenting like a lot of those videos. Nature, man, nature can be rough sometimes. So thanks for that question, Gecko Punk. It's really cool to reflect back. I'm also thinking of doing like reaction type videos because I think reaction type videos are super cool. So like I could react to this video per se, right? So like we could watch this and I could pause it and stop it and talk about it. So pretty cool stuff, I think, that we can do there in the future. Because those are always fun to watch. Henry Hicks, what's your thoughts on crossing Murphy's Patternless and Trimper Albino? You can do that. That's pretty cool. I mean, people already do that. Murphy's Patternless into all kinds of albinos, the Bell, the Trimper, the Rainwater. So, okay, personally, this is just me, guys. Don't shoot the messenger, please. Personally, I'm not big into Murphy's Patternless. I like Blizzard better than Murphy's Patternless. So I do work with Blizzard, but I don't work with Murphy's Patternless, and I don't work with a lot of Blizzard. The only reason I have Blizzard is because people like Blizzard. My first favorite Gecko morph was Blizzard and Super Snow because they just look super crazy cool and different. But as a breeder now, I don't like Super Snow and I don't like Blizzard because it completely takes away all ability to manipulate the pattern. Now, that being said, I wonder what a Super Snow Afghanicus would look like. And I wonder what a Super Snow Fasciolatus would look like. And I think they might be different. And that's why I'm going down that route. Because as a creator, you need the ability to create something different. If every time you're just creating an animal that has no pattern, but maybe slightly changes the hue of color, that doesn't do it for me. It might do it for you, and that's great. Pursue it if that does it for you. But what does it for me is contrast. I want to see greens. I want to see oranges. I want to see yellows. I want to see blacks. I want to see whites. I want to see all of that contrast. Yet, trust me, Blizzard and Diablo Blanco and Murphy's Patternless, they're all awesome. Trust me, they are. But that's my reasoning. And I also think Murphy's Patternless, Blizzard, and Super Snow make the best starter morphs because they teach you about dominant genes, incomplete dominant genes, and recessive genes. So any albino, any Blizzard or Murphy's Patternless, and any Snow, they all make great starter genes because it teaches you about genetics. So would love to produce some full carrot tail tangerines. You remember that Tango Crush I sent a picture of? Yes, full carrot tail tangerines are where it's at. That'll definitely be something on my radar to try to produce. And Bam Bam's got a really nice full carrot tail or like close to full carrot tail tangerine. They're pretty rare, but if you get more of those together and you hold them all back and breed them to each other, then you can create more. What's up? Driving to work. Will rewatch later. Oh, thanks, Derek. Yeah, man, I couldn't do the night shift, I don't think. Did I ever do a night shift? I've never done a night shift. I have been a server where I start my shift at like 4 o'clock and then end at like 1 in the morning. That's rough stuff, man. But you can sleep in the next day, go to the gym. I just didn't want to do that forever. Cleaning up the restaurant after it closes, that's the worst part of being a server, honestly. because after you're tired, like bone tired from walking around for the last 8 hours, now you have to clean and bend down and scrub before you go home. It's crazy. It seems to me that 100% carrot tails have some albino in them. That's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. Let me go to the Urban Geckos channel because he shows off a lot of his full carrot tail geckos. But I think you might be right. I don't think I've ever seen a full carrot tail leopard gecko that is not albino. So if you check this out, this is close to full carrot tail, and that's albino. Look, he does group breeding too. That's cool. That gives me hope. I mean, Brian Barczyk does group breeding. This other breeder in Canada does group breeding. Urban Reptile does group breeding. I think Matt Baronic does some group breeding. So group breeding is definitely a thing. And if I can prove through documentation and experience that it really works, then that would be great for leopard gecko breeders because I can encourage you guys on how to set them up in groups. And that would be way more efficient for leopard gecko breeders to breed cool stuff. And it would encourage and excite more people in the hobby. These are not albino. Bam, right there. You can see black on the tail. Black on the tail, black on the tail, and the eyes are black. These are not albino animals, and they're full carrot tail. So I retract my statement. Right there is a full carrot tail, non-albino leopard gecko. And this also looks non-albino. The eyes look kind of dark, but it might be albino. It's hard to tell. This is kind of what our Afghanicus white and yellow looks like. But this is a white and yellow Black Knight Bell. Oh, I thought a gecko was on its nose. I was like, dang, got to be careful with that. Is this like photo edited? I don't know. All right. Well, nothing from Tiki's yet, guys. And it's been an hour and 15 minutes. So if he was an hour behind in his mind, maybe he took a siesta. He took a nap and because it's 10:15 over there in Florida where he's at. So hopefully I can actually, we're going to be visiting Florida next year. Maybe I'll be able to tour his facility, get a video with them and stuff. So. Hyro said there's no sound. I hope that was just for the video and maybe not me speaking. Oh, cool. I'm caught up so I can see what that's for. Actually, what's my oldest gecko, 15-year gecko I've had since year 7? Wow, that's awesome. I think my oldest gecko right now is probably about 10 or 12, and she is a female. She lays infertile eggs every year, so I'm actually just going to pet her out. So if anybody wants her as a pet, I would love to just do, oh my gosh, this thing looks cool. What is that? Mandarin Black Knight. So that's what we're going to be going for as well. Mandarin Black Knights I'll definitely be breeding. So I want to pet her out for $50 plus shipping. So we could do 100 shipped for her. She'll just be a pet. She'll live the rest of her life as a pet. She's the sweetest thing. Or maybe I'll keep her as a school animal. Like I can bring her to schools and stuff like that because I know without a doubt she's like the calmest animal. So I retract that. I'm probably just going to keep her for schools and events and birthday parties and stuff because she does really well for that. But she was here. She was here somewhere. There's a pure Afghanicus. If you guys don't know what Afghanicus looks like, that's super cool. See how dark it is? That's why I think that Black Knight Afghanicus will make a really good combo. And you can see our picture here. I show one of our Afghanicus Black Knight groups. So you can see the darkness of these Black Knights breeding with this male Afghanicus. Hopefully, Lord willing, I think that we can create some really cool stuff from that. So I'll forget about that female. She's in there somewhere, but she's a super cool gecko. Anyway, I don't know how old she is. I bought her at like 6 years old, and that was at least, I thought she was about 6 years old. She could have been older. And that was probably like 4 years ago. So she's got to be 10 to 12 for sure. So Life with Little Ann says, when is breeding season for leopard geckos? So typically, breeding season will be about January through April, but leopard geckos can breed year-round, and you will oftentimes find females ovulating year-round, and so I would expect for them to breed year-round. If you don't know about breeding leopard geckos, check out some of our videos on YouTube. We show you how to check for ovulations. We show you how to pair the males and females. What you basically want to do is as soon as a female is ovulating, pair her. And then she'll lay eggs for you every 2 to 3 weeks for about 4 months or so. We will see you, Joshua. I'm sorry we didn't get Tiki's on here before you had to go. But I'm getting a little tired too. I might not be able to stay up so long. I'm just waiting to see. If he messages me back within the next 15 minutes, I'm giving us all 15 minutes. If he messages back within 15 minutes, we'll do the live stream with him. If he doesn't, then I'm going to have to try to reschedule with him. And that's perfectly fine. He might have had an emergency or something might have came up, so. Got my first leopard gecko clutch last night. Oh, wow. Thanks to us. I appreciate that feedback. Thanks for thanking us. That's really cool. That's why I make the videos. I love making videos and sharing. Even if we didn't have as many followers as we have, or even if we weren't growing at the rate that we're growing, I would still do it because I love it. But it's also it's a great promotion for your business if someone's looking to do that. But I just love it and love making videos. It's fun to make videos. I actually want to make a video on how to make videos and edit and all that kind of stuff. It's fun to do that if you're into that. It allows for you to be creative. Again, Geeky Gecko Creations. So I can create with geckos. I can create with video editing. Really cool. So Nick Diesel, what's going on, my man? I'm so excited every night I go into my reptile room and the baby Leos look like they doubled in size. And that's another reason why leopard geckos are so fun to breed is because they do grow very fast. They grow very fast. They're easy to take care of. The food that they require is also easy to get a hold of and feed them. And because of how fast they grow, it's just super fun. Yeah. How do you know if your eggs are fertile or infertile? I'll tell you what. You go over to YouTube and you type in Geeky Gecko Creations fertile eggs. Okay? And when you do that, Nick, my video will pop up right here. I have a video on how do I know if my leopard gecko eggs are fertile or not. And then I also have a video on how long does it take for leopard gecko eggs to hatch. And I show you different stages of what eggs. Actually, I forget what I show in this video. I think I show what it looks like right before the eggs hatch. How long does it take? But this video, you could see this is at 2 weeks, what the egg look like, what the eggs look like. This is at 4 weeks, what the eggs look like. This is at 6 weeks, and this is at 8 weeks, right before the eggs hatch. So check out that video. Geeky Gecko Creations, fertile eggs, and you will be able to see a nice, looks like it's 17-minute video on leopard geckos hatching. I'm getting tired. I got more work to do tonight too. I need to eat, and then what am I going to do? I guess I could postpone my work till tomorrow, but I've really been trying to organize the gecko rooms, the remodeling and the regrouping of all that, because I'm trying to get us back to normal as soon as possible. Because right now everything else is on hold basically until those rooms get up updated, you know, so I am tired. I might just have to call it there and try to reschedule with Tiki's. That's fine. Let me see who else we have confirmed right now on the calendar. So Tiki's was supposed to be tonight. I believe I'm going to lock this in, but on the 15th of July, we should have our rescheduled stream with Thomas from Tucson's Finest Leos and Junior from Junior's Geckos on at the same time, since we're all friends. That would be pretty cool. For all of you guys who saw Robbie last week and wanted to see more of him, we are giving him a month to get his new Gecko room up and running and have new information for us to share. On the 29th, we have scheduled with Robbie for a live stream. And then I believe Geckopia is going to be one of the weeks in July. Hopefully the Urban Gecko will be one of the weeks in July. And I'm trying to get a tarantula lady on, tarantula girl, for one of the weeks of July. That's a good question. Is July 4th a Friday? Oh, July 4th is a Monday. So if Bam Bam says, are you going to be live on July 4th? I'll let you know as soon as I know my plans for July 4th. If I'm with like my parents and my sister and my niece on July 4th, then I won't go live. But if I'm not, like if I'm back home, then absolutely I'll be live. Henry Hicks, you're the best because you give good advice and don't look down or judge newbies. Yeah, I mean, we're all newbies at some point, and I think that newbies are what carry on the hobby, number one. And I love being able to share and help. So that's another reason why I think I gravitate towards newbies a lot. You know, there's a lot of people that just gravitate towards each other, like whatever level they're on. If you're an expert, you're just going to hang around experts. But I really like being at the entry level, as well as the other levels. But I love catering to and trying to, help the entry level as much as possible and be there. So I left Tiki a voicemail too, so he's gonna get my voicemail. I love how you don't discourage people from breeding. So many people are just like, yeah, just don't do it. This is meant to be fun. This is meant to be a hobby. And so I try to take that fun, that passion, that joy, and try to create a platform where other people can feel that excitement. So I'm glad that and support. So I'm glad that is received. We are supposed to continue getting amazing geckos. And leopard geckos are the best first reptile for somebody and the best first breeding pet for somebody because they have so many genetics. They're really fun to breed, and it's also easy to understand the genetics, you know. The reason I say it's easy to understand the genetics is because there's a lot of videos and information out there compared to like other species. Now, leopard geckos, ball pythons are easy as well, but I would say it's easier to take care of a little leopard gecko than a ball python. It's a little bit more fun for people. To each their own, but I think leopard geckos are where it's at for sure. As far as like starter breeders, like I was breeding leopard geckos before I was breeding ball pythons. Some people switch and swap, switch and match. They were breeding pythons before geckos, but I think geckos are a great transition into pythons because it takes the knowledge of geckos and it really, once you get into pythons, there's like 100 times more genetics to focus on and combinations to make. But because of your leopard gecko experience, you can really do well in ball pythons. So we're all in it together, keeping the leopard gecko hobby alive. Hashtag grow the leopard gecko community. I like that hashtag. I'm going to start using that in my slogans and speech and probably some posts. So leopard geckos were my first reptile. They got me addicted. Same. First reptile also. I love them. I'm excited to be able to provide the people local to me with some amazing babies. People ask me about geckos all the time. There you go. And that's all that it's about for me. I want to produce some high quality animals for for quality price, you know, so that other people can have the joy of producing high quality animals and then getting more people into it. So I think I'm gonna call it there, guys. I'm literally like about to fall asleep. I need to get some food, and then I might not even do any more work for the night, guys. I might just give myself the night off and start it early tomorrow. So I love you guys. I really appreciate you being here. I'll find out what happened with Tiki's and see if we could get a reschedule for maybe next week, because we don't have anyone booked next week yet. So I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next stream. Ooh, that's a good one. The owner of Rainbow Mealworms. I will find out if we could get her on. Peace.